Dr. Mbenga in the Strange New Worlds.
Yes, he's good.
He's fantastic. Somebody please give this man a leading role in a movie. I'm so sick of being him a side character. He's awesome.
Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to our weekend show of Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we will be discussing the new movie, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Rebecca, we have some stealthy Hollywood news.
Fake spy trailer managed to catch most of Hollywood off guard this week.
Wow, let's get started.
Gus March Phillips is considered the most ungentlemanly sort of soldier in the British Army. But when he's tapped for a special mission under the direction of the Prime Minister himself, he sees the opportunity for his like-minded band of rebels to turn the tide of World War II. With a narrowing window to ensure freedom closing fast, Gus must decide, is it better to fight as a gentleman and live, or to die recklessly with a mission of success?
Rebecca, Guy Ritchie, he's back, baby.
He's back and he's blown up stuff more than ever.
Hey, he's no Michael Bay.
Michael Bay explosion!
But...
Oh, I like Guy Ritchie more, I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah, no. You were excited for this movie?
I was excited because Guy Ritchie manages to put the action in lights, camera, action. Wherever he goes, you know it's going to be fun and exciting.
So I said, that is not a dog. That is my wife.
It's very good.
I think you have seen, every Guy Ritchie movie?
Almost every Guy Ritchie movie.
Wow, all right. I was a little less excited. I admit, though, this story, true story, World War II, never have heard this story. And I'm looking at Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie is going to give me a history lesson.
We're losing the war. Hitler is not playing by the rules, so neither are we.
I hope he knows what he's talking about over here.
For context, I don't remember reading the book, but the book came out several years ago. It's written by Damian Lewis. No, not that Damian Lewis. The story sounded interesting. Here's a top secret mission. You have kind of almost this Expendables-like crew coming in. These are all soldiers who later became very decorated veterans.
Which surprised me, and we'll get to that, the whole epilogue. George Clooney. It was interesting. I agree with you. It felt a little less than, oh yeah, they're not, okay, people are going to recognize them. Oh, they're going to be excited about this. But you're right. This became something. These individuals that were involved in this, they became very well known and, as you said, very well decorated. I'm still cracking up over here. I don't even know anything about it. And their whole epilogue was, and they became this and decorated by this, and the Queen said this. And I'm like, who are these people?
We did recognize one person, though.
One person. And don't say it was Winston Churchill.
I was going to say
Two people.
What's really funny is Rory Kinnear is playing Winston Churchill. He's unrecognizable, but he's doing the weirdest Winston Churchill impression I've ever seen.
That stood out in not a good way to me.
Which is sad because you like him in, what is it, The Bank of Dave?
I like him in general. Yeah, Bank of Dave, that was a trippy movie.
That was fun.
I enjoyed that. But Winston Churchill, it honestly detracted from the movie. Not enough to go, don't see the movie. There were other parts of the movie. You like the choreography?
I did. I thought that there's several moments involving bows and arrows that I thought could have gone haywire, but they didn't. They actually were quite seamless.
And talk about chaos ensues. But there is a lot of action in this movie.
Sounds like stealth mode's over.
Lay it down.
And almost everybody's in this movie. It's really strange. We have big names like Alan Ritchson from Reacher. We have Henry Cavill, which we can't spoil, but he's a spy again. If you haven't checked out a review of Argylle, go see it. It just dropped on Apple TV.
He received a lot more screen time on this one.
I would say it's a healthy bet. Henry Golding is in this. You like him?
I do like him. This is true.
The gentleman who played Jamison Dune, the guy Paul killed, and he's also been playing Dr. Mbenga in the Strange New Worlds.
Yes, he's good.
He's fantastic. Somebody please give this man a leading role in a movie. I'm so sick of being him a side character. He's awesome.
Everybody felt like a main character to me, though.
That was the
Honestly.
cool part, is you have two different missions and they just collide, and you have this story. I really enjoyed seeing how you have like the very traditional spy antics, right?
When do we go?
0200. Take the towers first, then move on to the radio room, barracks, and end up in the control room.
But then you have the very almost special forces techniques being employed by the other group.
So what's happened there then?
It looks like they've been plugged full of arrows, Hazy.
Well, where'd the arrows go?
Straight through them.
There were 2 more around the other side.
Where are they now?
Same place as these 2. Nazi heaven.
And it's kind of cool to see them come together. The other thing I liked about this movie is it was kind of like a Steven Soderbergh Ocean's story.
Not sure it's working, Lassen. Captain looks rather agitated. They're bringing their guns to bear.
They'll find their range soon, sir.
Ready? Should we be worried? Oh, I don't think so, sir. It's a rather large explosive, so I set a rather large fuse.
You have the plot that you think's going to happen, but then it veers off because something weird is happening, and then you just have to join the other plots.
Should be any second now, chaps. Ready? Good work, Frederick. Thank you, Captain.
But it works.
It did work. I agree with that, because there are some movies that feel so disjointed and chaotic. And like we were talking about, right, a lot of action is going on. The dialogue was pretty snappy.
You won't like them. They're all... mad.
They'll need to be.
Par for the course with the Guy Ritchie film.
I agree with that. I think that's one of the strengths of Guy Ritchie. One of the writers, I was surprised, and you had told me...
Yeah, Rasha Morel, who wrote A Private War, which we mentioned last week,
Love that movie.
wrote a good chunk of the script. But then Alan Ritchson...
Yes, I was going to say, tell our cinema community this. Then you told me this.
If you don't know, before we get to the reviews, we tape these things called Tiny Tidbits. They're like little behind-the-scenes facts of the movies that we're reviewing that week. We were looking for a tiny tidbit for Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and we came across this interview where Alan Ritchson goes, yeah, you know, Guy Ritchie basically said, throw out most of the script, we're going to be improvising this. And I had memorized almost the entire movie to practice this very specific accent for my character.
That amazed me, because I'm thinking, oh, it was well written, it was snappy. It's like we said, it's Guy Ritchie. And then it's like, oh yeah, no, we just all kind of improvised. It flowed well. It didn't feel as if, you know, here, and where do we go? It came together. The movie, like you said, it was multiple tracks going this way and this way. It made a lot of sense to me, considering this was a whole new piece to me in general, meaning I don't know this story.
I know a couple of the people just from my cursory reading of some history books, but you're right. Large majority of these people, I am not intimately familiar with their antics.
Which is amazing to me.
For those of you who've seen any Guy Ritchie film, even if it's just one, yes, there is some slow-mo used in this movie.
I laughed. You like that part, though. You were talking about the Aladdin trailer is a good example of this.
There's one scene in Aladdin they highlight in the trailer where he falls backwards and you see the slow-mo of the chair just fall into the ocean.
Oh, be careful there. Guy Ritchie's not going to catch you back there.
Dang it. Ed, you let me down.
Exactly.
The cinematographer, Ed Wild, definitely latched onto Guy's signature qualities, but there's actually some experimental moments too. I love it when the lead German baddie
Oh, yes.
and Eliza are having this kind of face-off scene where they're kind of this mastery of wit situation.
That was good. I think that's the part that I like about Guy Ritchie. He's funny, but he's witty. And as you said, right, the lines stay in your head. You remember them. They're delivered really well. The trailer really pulled me in. That was enough for me to go, I think I want to see this. I wasn't, Fall Guy excited.
In 3, 2, 1.
Is that your new barometer this year?
That's my new barometer. Barbie was last year. But, we were laughing. It's not American fiction.
Your books change people's lives.
Has something I've written never changed your life?
Absolutely. My dining room table was wobbly as hell before your last book came out. It was like perfect.
But it's smart and funny, and I think Guy Ritchie nails that pretty well.
I think that's kind of what I was hoping for with Argyle and Matthew Vaughn, because I know Matthew Vaughn and Guy Ritchie kind of are in the same little camp, and I know they can both do it. I think Guy actually succeeded more in this movie. You could argue that both of these gentlemen, pun intended, created a mid-film for their career, but it's still very exemplary of their styles.
I agree. We saw Argyle. I wanted to like Argyle so much more than the cat. But it just didn't hit the mark. And coming off of that, I thought, well, let's see. This one felt like it had less publicity or less press behind it.
I was surprised to see only one trailer for this film. I was expecting like 2 trailers and a little bit more late night promo.
I would agree with that. R-rated movie?
This is R-rated for a reason. The violence is not severe. There's several moments in extended scenes where you really get the emphasis that our heroes will be lucky to survive if they fail this mission.
That is true. The stakes were very, very high.
I was worried just based on the little bit of what I saw from the trailer that this was going to be a cheapsy movie.
Sure.
But it's a more confined scale. They're kind of secluded to almost this island-like environment, and it really allowed the story to breathe. I think if you would have set it in like a larger stage instead of this little coastal town, I think you would have run into these logistics problems. It feels like they're in this isolated mission, but it will start to ripple out. But you really get the sense of they're able to control the circumstances that they're creating. And I'm trying to say as little as I can without spoiling the plot.
I agree. I hear the KG piece, but I'm also thinking $60 million budget makes sense that it wasn't vast. Do we have any questions from the box?
With stories like this being declassified all the time, do you think it pays respect to the mission, or are they kind of exploiting history just to make a buck in Hollywood?
There's a fine line between historical exploitation to make a few bucks and also historical fact. I know, Teresa, you and I were discussing after the movie, there was a character we'd been following through the entire movie that was omitted from the epilogue.
He was a main character, too. Again, trying not to be spoily or, be cagey, but the reality is, that is a hard piece because, and I don't know if I'm too literal, but when I see the character and a main character, a primary character, then they're nowhere to be found at the end. You really do go, what is that about? The exploitation, I think, is interesting because I'm wondering if, because it's a movie, we question that. We go, gosh, are they exploiting it? They're making this movie. But I wonder if we would say the same thing if it's a book. It's almost like if it's a book, it's historical, but if it's a movie and it's not a documentary, then it has the potential to exploit.
I wonder if that's because it's a shorter time frame. With the book, you have a little bit more room for context. You can add things like half a page long footnotes.
Well, and I wonder, too, who's actually writing the book. I don't see Guy Ritchie saying, hey, that's based on the book that I wrote. It's probably Dr. So-and-so with da-da-da-da-da credentials wrote this book. Do we have any other questions from the box?
As we mentioned in the tiny tidbit and in this review, that Alan Richardson mentioned that a lot of the lines were improvised as opposed to reading a script. Do you think that worked out well? Do you think the lines were good and cohesive? Or do you think a script might have made it tighter and better?
I haven't seen the original script, but what I can tell you is from seeing the movie, I did appreciate the fact that the cast came together. Part of the plot of this movie is all of these people in this one group know each other, that they've worked together, they've fought together for years, and they would die for each other. That's part of the selling point of this movie, and it creates some of the drama, so I think it works.
I always like when there's like a troop or there's a group of people that, as you said, work together, would live and die, which is ironic given the nature of this movie. I appreciate that because you do see the connection, you do see the trust, and I think you can improvise a lot more when you know someone versus, hey, somebody comes on and go, hey, I've got these great ideas. And they're all, they don't know how to bounce off of them. They don't know how to work with them. They may not even know where they're coming from. So I think there is value in the relational piece.
Also, spoiler alert, there is a little bit of a sequel hook. So I think they kind of needed that to carry that through.
Oh, the sequel hook. No epilogue, and give me all wound up right before the Moth rating. Rebecca, it is that time of the show. I have 5 moths. What do you think? 1 to 5.
This is a 3 moth movie for me.
Okay. Number 1 reason.
I feel like the movie sometimes didn't know where it wanted to go. You literally start in the middle of the action.
Yes.
Then you flip back to, hey, you're getting the mission. You also have Henry Cavill's character kind of becoming this Han Solo, snarky.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Kind of witty, kind of boom, 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 boom kind of guy. And that doesn't always pay off. And some of the other characters, the way they set him up doesn't always pay off. I did like the slow scenes in the middle. I just felt like if you would have started off slow, it would have given the audience room to expect the slow and embrace it.
Alrighty, 1 to 5 for me. I'm going to be a copycat, actually.
Meow.
Meow.
I know. 3 for me, too. I think the movie is above average. But there was some slow parts in the middle. And even if you like some slow, I appreciated that it started okay, right? It was a little bit on the up piece. They explained pretty quickly what they were doing, who the characters were, what was going on. Appreciated that too. But the middle was a little bit of a slog. And then all of a sudden, at the end, it paid off. And as we said, it's this great epilogue at the end. Sequel bait, which I'm never a fan of, but I'm not going to knock them for that. I just was disappointed. The movie was an hour and 20 minutes, and it really felt longer to me.
Honestly, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but I think Guy's interpretation of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. hit a lot of the notes that we're saying we didn't like, but made them better.
Yes, and you really like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That seems to be the gold standard of Guy Ritchie. Is that correct for you?
It's up there. It's one of my top 3, actually.
Oh, okay. That's what it sounds like.
I think definitely Guy forgot some of his lessons when he was making that movie.
He could do better. And we trust that he'll give it a shot.
If you enjoyed our review on the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, please like, which helps more viewers find our cinema community, and subscribe. It really helps us out, and you won't miss our upcoming reviews. And please, share with your friends.
Rebecca, it is that time of the show to talk about who we are not sponsored by today.
I'm not enthused. Let's get going.
Wow, we are not sponsored by London Fog today.
Oh, I could use a drink of that right now.
Oh, hey, no, not the drink. We are talking the coats.
I love their coats. I have one of their coats. You have one of their coats.
I have one of their coats. I'm thinking Guy Ritchie, the epitome of England and London, right? They love him. This movie is set in England where it's foggy, it's cold, it's rainy. Everybody needs a London fog coat. I grew up in Oregon. It's cloudy, it's cold, it's rainy. Made sense, right? Give them a call. Hey, I bet you they're going to want to sponsor us.
And Henry Cavill keeps stealing everybody's coats in that movie.
The badder they are, the better they're dressed. Really must get me one of those coats.
Too.
I know. I really was thinking. I had my nice little inky blue London Fog. You?
If you have to ask, it's always black.
It's always black. Been around for 102 years. Ironically, they are an American company, even though they have London in the title and they're making coats.
That is pretty ironic.
I thought that was pretty great. So Israel Myers created this coat, and his claim to fame is the raincoat with the little zip-out liner. Do you realize that is a patent product?
I know, because I see other companies do this all the time. So it's really strange that it was actually started by them.
I thought that was pretty fascinating. Started out in World War II. They were making clothes for the Navy. Then DuPont came in there and they started,
The tire company?
No. DuPont, the little chemical company.
Oh, okay, them.
Yeah, so they come up with this material. That's when they call it the main coat, the one that we're talking about, with the little zip liner and the whole idea of the main coat that came out in 1954 was you can wear this all seasons.
Pretty snazzy for all seasons.
I was going to say, you could probably pull that one off. They've, expanded. They went public. They actually expanded beyond the United States in 1990. They have other products now, which I'm thinking, I think of them as the coats only, but they have housewares. They actually have flannel sheets.
Oh, made from the lining? That'd be nice.
Oh, I don't know if they're made from wouldn't that be something? They're like, yeah, that color rejected, but they are kind of plaid, so you never know. They actually might have come up with that. the thing that just fascinated me, this is like back in the day, but in 1954, right, we talked about they were doing the main coat. They were sold by Saks Fifth Avenue, so they're like high class and fancy. If you ever know their coats, you're like, they're kind of raincoats with zippy lining. But they were sold for $29.95, which back in the day, pretty expensive. By 1970s, right back when I was, the little one, 2/3 of the raincoats sold in the United States were London Fog.
That's quite a claim to fame there.
I think it's pretty amazing. So I'm thinking pretty affordable. They would want to sponsor us. What do you think?
They wanted to limit their exposure and say no.
They said no.
Thanks, London Fog, for keeping us in the cold by not sponsoring us. It's that time in the show where we want to hear from you. We'd love to see your comments on our videos, especially your rating of the movie and why. Now let's talk about some of those cool comments we've been getting, Teresa.
First up, we have Sir Buttersworth, who commented on our review of Civil War. Here's what he had to say. Great video as always. Aw. I just watched this movie a few days ago and it had me shook throughout the entire runtime. It stayed with me even after leaving the cinema. I agree that the sound design was superb and the cast was great. A very haunting film that's very fitting for the times we live in.
I was shook too. This movie blew my mind.
I agree. I think it shook me in a good way, but in a disturbing way.
Well, and it's kind of a wake up way too.
I agree. Same with you and with Sir Butterworth. I mean, it really did have me shook. I really had been thinking about it. It's still, we saw it, last week? I still am thinking about many things. The visuals are still in my mind, the sound. He's right, the cast was great. I love the phrase, it was a very haunting film for the time we live in. 100% agree with that.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how this travels in other countries, not just the U.S.
Oh, that's a good point.
Next up, we have a faithful member of our cinema community, Matthew Roman 6807, who commented on our review of Arthur the King. Here's what he had to say. Just saw Arthur the King with my grandma. Aww. I give it 3 moth rating too, thanks to the fact that it's based off a true story and the acting. I felt like the ending/epilogue was somewhat rushed. After seeing other dog movies with my grandma the past few years, including Dog, The Art of Racing in the Rain, we felt Arthur is better.
I love the fact we got a rating. Epilogue, our cinema community, they understand. I agree with you, though. I think it's so great to go with your cinema community, right? We're our cinema community, right? Our team is our community.
And also our cinema community in the greater internet at large as well, too.
Absolutely. That's great. Would you agree with that Arthur is better?
I think out of all the dog movies I've seen, yes. But I also don't see that many dog movies, so I don't have as wide of a base to compare it to as Matthew has.
Which is great that he's sharing, because if you haven't seen those movies, I know the one that the box I'm laughing, I know you already know. But the Dog Days, it's kind of the rom-com with the dog, and that definitely was not a true story. But it was good. I just like Mark Wahlberg a lot, and the fact it was a true story, although they did take some license with it. It was okay. It wasn't great.
It really felt like his pet project. Pun intended.
Badooch. Yes. Finally, we had Yankee Cantrell, who commented on our review of Civil War. Here's what he had to say. Great review and video. Do you feel that perhaps they played it too safe with Civil War by avoiding getting too political with the film? Or do you think that, given the topic of the film, that is the way it had to be made the way that it was?
I think it's interesting that they chose an apolitical point of view. I know from even taking just a journalism class, the apolitical point of view is something that is really impressed upon mass media to try and create. So I thought it was interesting because it allowed almost a critique of journalism, but also films, as I discussed in the review.
I don't know that it was a safe play, although it could have been. I don't think that that's a unheard of thought. But I think when you're talking about journalists, it like you said, it kind of goes back to, because I had actually taken a lot of journalism classes back in the day. And I think that was so impressed upon us at that time, was to be neutral and to get the facts, let the picture speak for themselves, let the article be open to interpretation. I don't know that that's our society so much today. I think everyone has a viewpoint, and oftentimes that's expressed in a lot of the movies that we see. I honestly appreciated the fact that they presented the information and allowed the viewer, you had made a comment at one point with the movie where we were watching the scene and then all of a sudden the camera was raised up. And then all of a sudden you see what they're seeing. I appreciated that, actually.
I think it's actually more risky, especially with a type of film like that, to go for the apolitical route.
Oh, I think so too. And some people I do not think will see it or will like it because they are either hoping or expecting it to be one way or the other.
And that's not to say that there's room in the film landscape for films that may veer towards one way or the other as well.
Absolutely. No. And I think that's fair. Because if people have an opinion, there's nothing wrong with them using their medium to say, this is how I'm going to communicate that to people, whether you like it or whether you don't. And not like in an aggressive way, but just, hey, I want to put that out there. But I agree with that. I think it was more of a risk to say, I'm going to be neutral. Rebecca, it is that time for some Hollywood news. What's going on out there?
Fake trailers abound this week.
Oh, I have fallen for fake trailers. I feel like you're talking to me, but I don't think that you are.
I'm talking to all of Hollywood this week. Come on, guys.
Oh, no. What trailer has grabbed Hollywood and our greater cinema community this week?
3 million views as of this morning. The Hollywood Reporter pointed out this trailer for a James Bond movie that was supposedly starring Henry Cavill and also co-starring Margot Robbie.
I'm laughing. That's not real. No, kidding. Tell our cinema community what to look for. I'm laughing because I'm thinking, it's not real.
Well, first off, I want to thank the Hollywood Reporter, specifically James Hibbard, for bringing us this story.
Wow, he's on the scene. I wonder if he fell for it too.
Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter Heat Vision group chat. Hey guys, you'll never believe this trailer I just saw. Ooh, news.
Ooh. Did you fall for it too, or did you go, oh no?
Well, spoiler alert, within the first 30 seconds, they use a Man from U.N.C.L.E. clip.
Oh, so you knew it was fake.
I knew it was fake. The other problem you have is this is totally capitalizing off the we really want Henry Cavill as Bond movement.
I wouldn't mind him as Bond.
I wouldn't either, but it just...
You're like,
It just feels like another year, another rumor that he's going to be James Bond. And that's why I really wait until Eon Productions really nails who they're going to name as Bond. Because you have it's like Doctor Who.
Oh.
You have every name being thrown out until they're like, no, wait, it's this one. This is the name we're going with.
I was laughing when you said that they had taken this from the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and then you said Margot Robbie, and I'm like, from Barbie? They just like merged the two. It's like Bond versus Barbie. Ooh, there's something.
Barb and Bond.
I
just think it's funny how these trailers just get traction. If there's a little bit of a news tidbit, people are like, oh my gosh, it must be real. I saw a Dune trailer, I want to say last month, that had some AI generated elements to it. And they basically photoshopped Timothée Chalamet on top of Michael Fassbender's head from X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, wow. It's interesting because what you're talking about, obviously, right, they have to come up with things that are fake. But it's interesting that they're from different movies. So it's almost as if you know the movies, then that's how you identify it's fake. Not, oh, they haven't announced it yet. It's this movie, it's this movie, it's this movie. And then it's this compilation.
The more movies you know, the quicker you can pick out the scenes.
I agree. I think that's hilarious because I know in the past I've sent you trailers. I'm like, is this? And you're like, oh, no, it's fake. And you tell me all these reasons why.
3-paragraph long text.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, actually, something like that. It's always interesting to me because people see these and obviously, right, people like myself, I've fallen victim for them. I've believed some. But I also think some people, even if they hear it's fake, they're going to watch this. Do we have any questions from the box?
Some people like fan vids. Some people don't like fan vids. Do you think as long as they disclose, at least in the description, that, hey, this is a fan vid, this isn't real, that it's fine? Or do you think they shouldn't be making these?
I love fan vid. Fan vids are some of the best ways I've found to get people excited about movies, TV shows, whatever you're a fan of. One of my best friends, she makes fan vids for a couple of her favorite TV shows, and she has over 1,000 subscribers. I love them because they show to creators what's possible and what the fans want to see.
I always think that there's a fine line between entertainment and infringement, but I do think, I agree with you, if the disclosure, and my understanding, this one had the disclosure.
I was really impressed with the amount of disclosure. Not only did they disclose what software they were using. They disclosed like how they were doing it and what they were hoping to create.
I appreciate that, because that way, and I don't know if that keeps them legally safe or not, right? We're not attorneys, we don't know. But I would say it is interesting that they're at least putting it out there. And I'm assuming it's one, to protect them. So they say, hey, we're not trying to do anything crazy. But also for people that want to see it. In what did we say? 3 million people have watched it. It's not, it came into people's feed and they clicked it away. It's 3 million people have watched this. And so obviously it has some sort of attraction, some sort of an audience. And I think Bond is timeless. People want to know who is the next Bond. That is throughout the entertainment circle right now. People are asking that question.
That's definitely a hot buzz question anytime there's a new Bond, though.
Yes.
It's such an iconic franchise. People are like clamoring. It's almost like a football team. You're like, my player can beat your player. My main actor can be your Bond.
You had said it too, which I thought was interesting. You were saying people are doing this in part to promote who they want. And what are we talking about? You know, Civil War and political stuff and everything. I'm laughing. It's vote for my guy, vote for my gal, which is an interesting way to promote who you want to see.
And you never know. Some casting director might see your trailer and go, I had never thought of that like that.
Rebecca, what else is going on out there?
Well, we have Quentin Tarantino calling it quits on The Critic.
Oh, he's done.
No, he completely dropped it. According to Deadline, Justin Kroll says, Quentin just changed his mind.
There it is.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow. Yeah, there it is.
It is Hitman.
But he had been working on this. He had cast this. Wasn't Brad Pitt supposed to be in this?
This is supposed to be a Once Upon a Time sequel in Hollywood.
Yes. So what's up with that?
The man does as he pleases, much like a certain cat we know.
Oh, yes. Right.
Yes.
If Mystery were a film director, this is what would happen. This is fascinating, though, because it's cast, it's I mean, weren't they in production?
They were just starting to be.
And he just, is this go back to his, I'm going to retire? Or?
Yes, this goes back to, I'm making 10 films, no more, no less.
Wow. I can you imagine you're on the set with him and he just says, yeah, I'm just done.
But he's known for this. The Hateful Eight wasn't, after the script got leaked, he's like, well, I'm not going to do that. And then he's like, well, you know, people seem to like it. I might do it. And thank you for doing that. It's one of the best Westerns I've ever seen. Watch the extended version on Netflix. You will thank me later.
But yet we reviewed True Grit. You know how it goes.
I'm just frustrated with the man. He is so desperately concerned with preserving his own legacy as this great filmmaker. And it's okay if your greatest legacy is one awesome film.
Which is?
Well, for me, it'd be Inglourious Bastards. But the man has so many other good films as well.
I agree. But I'm laughing when you were like, oh, he's trying to preserve his legacy. We're all trying to preserve our legacy. I'm looking to you. Hey, honey, preserve my legacy. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's a bad thing. But he seems a little reactive and a little emotional on this whole bit.
I'd understand it if the script got leaked or something and he's like, that's it, I'm done, no more.
Oh, then he's like throwing a fit. It's like, come on, you're Quentin Tarantino. Just suck it up, buddy.
We should just call him Quentin Tarantino at this point.
Quentin Tarantino. Wow, that may become a thing.
I mean, he was also supposed to be directing a Star Trek film, and they're like, oh yeah, never mind. We're not doing that either.
I read that. I didn't even know that was a thing. He like had it and dropped it before I even knew that it was happening.
I sent you the screenshot because the original headline for this was Quentin Tarantino drops the movie critic. I thought, oh, he surprise released it. He Beyonce'd it.
Oh,
and then they did the breaking news. The headline above it is like, no, he's not doing it. He quits it.
Do you ever wonder if he's doing that for effect, though? Meaning I get more buzz when I drop something than when I do something?
I don't know. I know he says his movies aren't for everyone, but at this point, it seems
they're
like
for no one. He dropped it.
See, exactly. They're not for anyone. It's just like...
It's crazy making to me because any of us could start a project and say, oh, yeah, I'm not going to do that today. Or, oh, yeah, I'll do that later. But to me, it's such a big thing when you've gotten so, it's like commit to the bit. You have your casting, you have your script, you have your production team. You think you're going to work the next day and, Quinn's over there going, no, I don't want to do that today. It's like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like he's kind of throwing a little fit for no particular reason or he's having some existential crisis that if it's going to be, you know, my last one, I don't know.
I would love to sit down with an interview with Quentin and talk to him about what he wants his legacy to be, what he thinks it is right now.
The man needs to lay on a couch and somebody sits there with a notepad.
What were you feeling at that point? What was I feeling? I felt either I'm having a mental breakdown again, or I'm living inside a computer-generated reality that has imprisoned me again.
With the doctor title and say, please tell me what you're really thinking. It's not a discussion. It's a therapy session with this man.
I think that's really tough too, because he's so passionate about film. You hear him. He's excited. Then all of a sudden, it's kind of like you make fun of me for giving a movie a bad rating and you think I'm excited about it.
Suddenly, it's passé. But he's good. It's not as if nobody has seen his work. He's, you know, insecure and shy and, you know, pensive or something. It's people like your movies. People like more than one of your movies. People are excited about your movies. And he's like, well, maybe not enough.
I get that David Lynch is worried about securing funding for his films, but I don't think Quentin has that problem
I don't think he has that.
That was my first guess. I'm like, is he worried he's not going to get the money to raise this? No, the man's a brand name to people outside of Hollywood, too. He can get the money. He has the street cred. Just finish the dang movie, Quentin. We all want to see it.
Now we do. Well, now that we know the Star Trek one, I didn't know. See, this one I know about. Now I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I know one of your friends is going to go crazy. It's like, sequel. And then it's like, oh, sorry, no. You're the one's going to have to break it to him.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. Please watch our show, and then it'll be taken care of. Do we have any questions from the box?
Last week we talked about Lana Wachowski passing off the Matrix and basically kind of letting go of the property, still being involved, but allowing someone else to take it forward. Do you think Quentin needs to take a page from that playbook, start passing off some of these properties he doesn't want to take forward?
I think it would be a good idea because it sounds like it would relieve a lot of stress on him. Do I think he's going to do it? No, he's a perfectionist.
You're so thoughtful. He's stressed. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do it. It sounds like he's very enmeshed with his properties and he's very attached to his properties, which I understand. But I also think there are other people that could take it to the finish line.
He's become one of those iconic auteurs. Anytime you see any of his movies, it's Quentin Tarantino's blank.
Well, literally in this case, it is his blank. There's nothing there. Wow, isn't that the truth?
Unintentional.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Next week, we're excited to be reviewing Challengers on our Movies and More weekly show. We will also be doing a 60-second review of Unsung Hero.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this show, you might check out last week where we reviewed Civil War on our Movies and More weekly show, and we dropped a few 60-second reviews on Sting, Spy Family, Code White.
Remember, cinema community movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.